Hi everyone and welcome back. So this is the last video of authentication strategy using password, JWT, user login and register. So we will do the complete demo. First we will see what all step by step we have done. Okay, so what we have is we want our user to register, then login, and then we have the test APIs so that a logged in user only can access that test API. Okay, so first of all, if you remember, we wrote user service, a simple user service which is having some get user by email, get user by ID, and then create method, which is nothing but saving a user, right? And these methods are being called from the user controller. User controller, there is a simple register method. There is a register endpoint on the authentication. We are getting the payload and we are creating a simple user. Right, then we wrote an authentication service that we wanted to isolate the authentication from the user service. User service will mainly deals with the basic database operations. Authentication service will do the login, generate token, verify the password and all. We are using bcrypt here. So here, like get auth user, you will have the email, and based on that you will verify the password using verify password method. If all good, then you will return a user from this. Okay, this is the register. We are using this register method. Once user is coming in, then we are creating the hash password and we are registering a user with the hash password, and then we are returning the created user. And from the controller, you can see the controller is using this authentication service, authentication service dot register. Here user is getting registered, and then this get auth user, and get user token is being used by passport local strategy. So these are the two services. That is step one. Step two is we introduce the passport for authentication. Okay, so we created these three files. First of all, so we have this local strategy.ts. okay, it is extending the passport strategy and having the validate method. This validate method should return as the user object. Same user object will be available in the controller. So validate it is calling auth service.get auth user authentication service, and here is our controller. Now after this we wrote the controller. Controller is using this passport auth guard. Okay, this is the particular auth guard. So if you are adding this guard and you are sending the login request, then passport local strategy will come into the picture. They will first make sure that user is valid based on the email and password, and will add user in the request payload. This is what it is doing. And once we have the user object in the request, means user is valid, email is correct, password is correct, we got the user object, create a token. So we are using get user token. So till now this is a step two. First is a creating base service, then adding the passport. Third step is adding a JWT module in the nestjs. So that we are doing here in the domain module. We introduce a JWT module using async initialization. We are passing the JWT secret, something like this. You can get all these things from the config service, from the process.env.jwt secret or something. I'm hard coding this for now. This is JWT introduction. Now we have JWT module. Now our authentication service can use JWT service, which we have injected in the constructor. This is JWT service dot sign. We are actually creating the JWT token based on the user ID. So get user token. This we are calling from the controller. This controller is saying, okay, you are logged in. I have the user object using passport. Okay, let's give me the token based on user ID, and I will return that token with the user object. Till now everything is fine. You logged in, you registered, you logged in, you got the token. Now when your request is coming in with the token, how can we validate the token? That can be easily done by JWT strategy. So you see, this authentication folder is important. Here we are adding a JWT strategy. This is same as the passport. It has this validate method, and here JWT from request. Here this can be, you might be extracting the JWT token from the cookies, from session, so here we are extracting it from the authorization bearer token. So there should be a authorization header which has the bearer space token. So it will extract the token for us, and it will actually call the validation method internally, and it will give us the decoded payload. and that payload will have user ID, because while doing the JWT.sign, we are passing the user ID in the payload. So we got the user ID, and here we will just validate the user ID using this user service.get by ID. That's it. I mean, from the user service we'll validate, okay, this ID is representing a particular user in our system. If yes, we are good. This is JWT strategy. Now we created a JWT guard. Specifically, this guard will help us a lot in all different things. So there are two options. Either you create a JWT auth middleware where you actually decode the token and then add the request object to the user, I mean user object to the request, or you can actually create a JWT strategy. Now this guard you can attach on our test method. This is the test method we have, get test. It is using JWT authentication guard. So whenever the request is coming to the test, it will always check, do you have the authorization header as a bearer or not? No, it will send unauthorized. If yes, it will actually check that payload. It will actually call this JWT strategy. It will validate the user ID based on against the user database table, and then if yes, we will be passed. So this is important. We are using local strategy passport and JWT strategy, and we have two different guard. One is a JWT guard for the login, and another is a auth guard for any protected API. So it's like a complete suite we have, right, which is doing authentication, giving us the token, then we are protecting our private routes with the help of that. So if we just see this, how it is working, we have the registration. So this registration will have the some payload. We can actually pass something, hello@gmail.com. This is the password we are sending. Okay, so this will create a user, and once user is created, we can see, okay, we clicked on to this twice, I think. That's why let's change it to hello1. So you have to, while creating a user, you need to add a check also. If the same email is coming, just throw 409 status code saying that user already exists. Okay, so here user is created successfully. We can use the same payload for doing login. I'm doing the login, and login should return token and the user object. This is what the user object will send us, right? And now if I try to access without authorization header, let's say, then I should get unauthorized, right? Here now if this is HTTP GET, we don't need a payload. So this is my header I have. So I got unauthorized, right? So this is a protected API. So based on that, I need to add authorization header, and that will contain bearer space your token. Okay, now you can actually send it, and yes, here you will get a message, hi, I'm logged in as a valid user, right? So end-to-end authentication authorization with the help of nestjs. Nestjs is using passport local strategy and JWT strategy to validate the protected routes. So this whole content, I will be putting that in the GitHub. You can actually check this particular project, nestjs project starter. Okay, and then we will create a new project from the scratch for our next set of topics. Okay, thanks everyone.